Hello and welcome to APTCAST, the new podcast series by APTIM, where we discuss insights into key issues that are happening in the natural world around us, as well as highlight our teammates and spotlight the extraordinary work that we do. So here today, we're going to be talking about APTIM's commitment to environment, social, and governance, or ESG issues. So APTIM made big strides this year in 2021 in integrating better ESG into our internal operations, as well as our client services. And so part of that was just recently releasing our 2021 ESG report. And that provides a baseline for where we're at now and also a blueprint for where we're going into the future in environmental stewardship. So I'm Catherine Strybig. I'm with our Energy and Solutions team. I'm a project manager, and I have here today Mohammed Abdul Shakur, who's our VP of Site Assessment and Remediation, Amy Martinez, who's our Client Program Manager for Energy or Environment and Sustainability, and Greg Butler, who's our VP of Compliance and Permitting. So we'll be talking a bit about the ESG report itself and why we decided to do that and why we thought it was important to do an external report this year. And then we'll talk about where we're at now for the current year, what our focus is, and then go a little bit into ESG in the future. So to start off, Amy, so why do you think it was important to do an ESG report this year and to do that publicly?
Yeah, it's really exciting that we had the opportunity to do this, and it's kind of been a long time coming. So, our CEO, Mark Fallon's been a big supporter of this. It's the past year putting together a sustainability council and leading towards this initiative has been fantastic. But I think it's important, especially with Earth Day, just honoring our commitment, not just to our people internal, but also external to our clients, that we really are for the people, the environment in which we work and operate. And with the projects that we do, it's really highlighting and showcasing all the ways we're already being for the environment and being for our communities and where we plan to go into the future.
Awesome. And then Greg, why do you think it's important for APTIM to specifically integrate the ESG values into the way that we do things, like Amy mentioned?
Well, one, because it's the right thing to do. And in many ways, it's our mission and vision have really been built around ESG to begin with. You think about how we support our clients with resiliency, decarbonization, sustainability. Those are all key components of the service offerings that we bring. So it's very important that our mission and vision be based around ESG, as well as attracting and retaining talent. We've learned that's a key component of what, employees that we are trying to attract to APTIM and retain the ones we've got, that they understand the ESG purpose we have and how that aligns with our mission and vision. So we had to make that clear. And those are absolutely items that we're going to stand behind and build a roadmap around.
Just wondering a little bit about the milestones that we hit in the past year and highlighting those. So Amy, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So, a few things that come to mind right away is our councils that we stood up. So our Sustainability Council and our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, our DEI Council. So those were, I think, really important for our company. We haven't seen those before in the past. And so for us to really invest in the people and their time into those two councils to shape internally where we want to direct our sustainability and DEI efforts, I think was huge for us in 2020. And one of the key things that came out of the Sustainability Council, one of the first initiatives, was to draft our first policy. And it was a very diverse group of men and women from all different organizations across APTIM that came together with their ideas. And that policy was approved and available to all of our employees to see, so they can really see and invest in the journey that we plan to take the company. In addition to the policy in our councils, and we also began collecting our data. We actually started that in 2020 and completed that in 2021 for greenhouse gas inventory and our external reporting through EcoVadis and CDP assessment.
Awesome. Very exciting. So are there any other milestones that you guys want to cover, maybe from the social and governance side?
Well, safety, the core value here at APTIM. And there was a milestone that was developed around safety in the form of our weekly safety tailgates. So what this does is this is a safety tailgate that's submitted to all employees. It's on a weekly basis, and it's from a perspective of, okay, what are we learning out there that we need to share across the organization? What are best practices? What are some of the lessons learned or near misses that we've experienced that others need to know about, so that we don't replicate those items in the field? So that's been a great milestone item. It has certainly improved our safety performance as well. So that is another milestone.
So you mentioned the core values, and safety is one of our core values. Are there other ways that ESG kind of feeds into our core values and helps kind of produce that why for our
Sure, yeah.
team?
So APTIM a few years ago, even before launching our sustainability plan and policy, invested in the Collaborative Way, or TCW. It's our call to action, call to leadership culture. And really what it's about is some really simple concepts of how we work together and how we're for each other. 5 main principles: listening generously, speaking straight, honoring commitments, being for each other, and acknowledging and appreciating others. So we've really embraced this as our core values. And what's special about this is that we did a full launch of it across the organization, where employees received either in-person or online training to really understand how we are going to work together and be for one another. And I think the ESG framework fits perfectly into the culture that we already had leading into our sustainability policy and our DEI council.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've talked a lot about internally how we apply ESG. So then, is there any feedback on how externally in our client services or the way that we deliver, that we're bringing ESG into the fold, or how we talk to clients about that? Are they talking to us? Or are we talking to them?
It's that communication is important to have with our clients. It's important to understand their ESG goals and how we align with them. And that communication really starts at the proposal level. If there's an opportunity we're pursuing, it's important for us to understand how this opportunity aligns with their ESG goals or their ESG milestones or their initiatives. And these are questions that we ask up front during the early stages of that pursuit. And it's typically our account managers or that capture manager that's driving that proposal, that's leaning in with those questions with our clients to make sure that, we're clear on what those ESG goals are, how it aligns with their mission and vision. And then how are we differentiating ourselves to make sure that, APTIM is aligning our approach, our strategy to whatever that scope of work is to meet those ESG goals.
So then, are there kind of any drivers that we're specifically seeing from the clients that stand out?
Well, before I move to drivers, just something to add on to what Greg said. I think what's unique too is many of our clients didn't have sustainability under their purview, just last year. And with many of our customers moving towards having their own sustainability initiatives and big, broad goals, they're finding that our clients are now, sustainability is falling under their responsibility. And so we're at the table, we can have these conversations with them, and they're comfortable knowing that we can talk to them about energy, water, waste, and that we have the technical expertise beyond maybe other services we are offering. So they can come to us for all those different services and have that conversation. It makes them feel comfortable, and we're excited to bring new solutions to them in this space as well.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And something we covered a bit in the report was, as APTIM starting to focus on going more across teams, and we've got a lot of sustainability people mixed in, a lot of resiliency, all throughout the company, and starting to unite those and being able to work across teams, I think is really important for our clients. I think that's a really good point. Going back to the drivers, were there any other drivers that kind of stood out for clients that the clients are starting to ask for? I know part of it is it's starting to come under their purview, or just kind of more out in the world, ESG is being talked about, so it might be coming up in conversations, but anything that stands out?
Yeah, so I think for our clients, there's a few things that are driving for them, investors, especially for a lot of our big clients, that investor relationship and what that looks like for them being a public traded company or large company. So they're making these big, bold commitments themselves and then driving that through the organization. So I think the investor part of it, another one we see is regulations, the regulatory aspect of them complying. A lot of what we do is around compliance and permitting. And so the compliance piece is driving our customers to also start asking us for those services or asking what we can do in that space. And then in addition, them being large customer facing type clients. So them themselves, and for example, in our retail market, they have consumers that want to buy or procure or go shop at a store or buy a product that they know is green, right? That there's sustainability initiatives behind that business. And so I think their customers are also driving our clients to move in that direction, which is then forcing them, or they're coming to us then asking for what we can do to help them move in a positive direction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Mohammed, I have a question for you now, which is kind of related to that, and maybe there are different pressures or different drivers. Do you feel like our clients are being led more towards transparency, and what might be leading them towards that?
Yes, absolutely. I think, with regards to the transparency that's involved around ESG, I think we have to think about the role that industry plays in kind of society. and the duty of care that each of the companies has for taking care of the environment and taking care of the people and the communities that they play a part in. Earlier, Greg had said it's just the right thing to do, right? Never have we had a time in our existence that I can recall where we've had such a plethora of data available for us to be able to see the impacts of the operations that we have, but also the externalities, because we build a road here, what are the other knock-on effects? And when you think about things like that, there's a level of risk involved. So with regards to, the environment, I use the example of building a bridge, then you have to understand all of the different impacts that building that bridge will have on the communities around the area. And if you can get out ahead of that as a company, then you can really control the narrative on the benefit that bridge brings to society. From a societal standpoint, for the social standpoint, when we look across the board of companies at their board or their C-suites, there's a really big thing about the number of diverse candidates that are being looked at in their leadership. And that is very clear when it comes to public companies. And so, right now, you don't want to be caught on the wrong side of that. There's, so many studies that talks about the benefit of having diversity in your leadership and what having different voices in the group really does to avoid, driving towards one solution and not considering all the solutions that are available. Ultimately, it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's great. Great answer. So does anyone have kind of feedback on, we've talked about APTIM's core values and where ESG fits in, but then also how that might balance against other priorities such as cost savings or quality or efficiency that APTIM has that we also focus on?
Well, we're definitely when it comes to safety and quality and efficiency, we don't limit our spending there. We want to make sure we're remaining safe and the quality in our work is there, and we are as efficient as we can be with all we do. But how to align the spending, a lot of that is aligned with where the needs are. Where the priorities exist. We talked about, the client-facing component of how do we align ourselves with our clients' ESG goals. What we learn from that alignment and having discussions with our clients and understanding where the industry, where the trends are, that helps drive where our spending focus is, especially from an internal perspective. So we try to keep our ear to the ground to understand, what's coming down the pike that we need to be aware of and how that relates to our mission and vision and ESG, and make sure that we are investing in, be it resources or technology or whatever the tools are that will keep us ahead, of where we need to be, and making sure that we're keeping that in line with just our core values and our mission and vision. So those are the components that kind of drive how we apply our spending.
Definitely. And so kind of building off that transparency question and then also talking about our goals and our other kind of core balances throughout industry, and when we're working with our clients, kind of where are you seeing challenges for them in enacting ESG?
Really, I think for our clients base, which is primarily based here in the United States, it's really about getting ahead of the regulation that is impending. You have, every year public companies have to report financially in their, be it any other reporting mechanisms that they have. And we feel that because of a lot of the action we see happening in Congress and the SEC, that ESG is going to become a part of that requirement. We already see it with TCFD internationally. A lot of European companies are already doing it, and we feel that it's coming. So a lot of, the challenges that I feel like we face are, in the impending change that's coming, what is the materiality that surrounds that? To what extent does that affect the different industry that you're a part of? I think based on the geography that you're in and the industry that you're a part of, that's not always going to be the same for company to company. But one commonality across the board is if you're a public company, you're going to have to report. If you're a private company or a public company, you're going to have to face the risks that surround it with regards to the social aspects and the environmental aspects. And what APTIM is doing to support our clients that are facing those challenges, we have a multitude of tools, one of which is our sustainability index, which I feel if you take a part of it now, you'll see that you get a lot of benefit in having that data set already and ready to go, so you don't end up having to play catch up when those rules come into effect.
Definitely. And so I like that, having an example. And so I'm just wondering kind of other examples kind of throughout APTIM's work of how we're restoring the natural environment or kind of helping push forward resiliency or sustainability into the future. Those are kind of building off of the Sustainable Index, maybe other examples that you have in your work.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we would be remiss to not talk about some of the disaster recovery work that we do with, helping the families stay, afloat when you have really, really bad events coming. Climate is a really big part of ESG, and the data will show that right now more than ever, we are seeing kind of human impacts on the climate and leading to a lot more adverse events. And so we have to have, both resiliency and emergency response ready for when these things happen. And APTIM has been doing a phenomenal job of taking care of making people that are housed, making sure that, when we have these damaging weather events, that we can come in and restore these things that we lost or were damaged.
And I think building on that, what's nice about that example is not only serving and helping our external clients in need, but also being for our people. Hurricane Ida, when Hurricane Ida hit, we not only responded as for our customers, for FEMA, and being there for the project needs, but we responded for our people that lost power, lost homes, and were able to help many of our own employees sort of find their way right after the storm when they had lost so much.
Yep. Food, fuel, and water. Absolutely right. On the client side of the house, great example, Amy. On the client side, as far as one of our goals is helping our clients reduce their footprint, their environmental footprint. And one way we do that is through better waste characterization. What are they throwing out of their facilities that they really should not be, or that they can better streamline, so that they're putting more in recyclables, or they're donating more, or there's less going to the landfill. So our subject matter expertise is great in that space of understanding where those efficiencies exist, and building a roadmap for our clients to get there, so they can see how they are better managing their waste and reducing their footprint on the environment.
And data is key when it comes to waste, solid waste. It's the better the data you have coming in, the more informed decisions you can make going out as to how to manage potential waste streams for recycling, or maybe where you can make some operational changes internal to not even produce the waste in the first place, right? So upfront changes that can just revise your current process so you're not producing so much on the back end. And we're also being innovative. We're looking at technology solutions to help some of our clients around waste with different type of robotics and AI sorting. And here coming up in the near term, we'll be working with a major city to help promote the reduction of single-use plastic and the transition to reusable foodware. So really exciting to kind of tackle the waste conversation in a lot of different ways, both for government clients as well as public and private that we have.
So I think that's something that struck me in kind of reading and working on the report, are all the different ways that APTIM feeds into sustainability, whether it's housing over 15,000 people last year, or we refurbished over 12 miles of coastline, as well as all of energy efficiency for certain customers. So there's really this gamut of different work that feeds in that is all sustainability and resiliency kind of led, and it's cool to think about how that all connects. And I feel like we are starting to do a better job of meeting up with all the teams and everyone sharing their stories, which I think is exciting for the whole company to know that other people are doing this cool work too, and how we all feed in. So are there any kind of examples that come to mind of a project where we did ESG specifically well, and it might not have to be a sustainability, like a project that you'd think of as sustainability, but maybe where ESG kind of shined anyways, or there was one particular thing that we did that was cool? Does anything come to mind?
Well, I know one you're thinking of, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit with the reusable foodware. That is a project that just screams exactly all we're talking about here. And I know I lean a lot on the waste minimization side, because that's a core part of our compliance business, and it just aligns very well. And it's one of those easily recognizable quick wins that our clients can obtain in understanding, because everyone's got a waste stream, and everyone's doing something with what's coming in. It's got to go out at some point. So that's just that's one of the first opportunities our clients can understand. Okay, this is a quick win for me, and this is an easy way for me to better define how I'm managing this, this item that's now got to leave my facility.
There's been even some very small examples of where I think we've worked with a customer that they're starting their journey on ESG and what sustainability looks like for them, and designing their own goals of where they want to go and launching their own ESG report for the first time. And we've been fortunate enough to be along for the ride, in their sustainability planning and helping them figure out, what should go in, or how we work with them to decide what those goals look like and where they're going to collect their data. And even identifying technology platforms to help them with data capture, so that long term that they're really well prepared in collecting data and then reporting out for the different types of externally focused reports that they want to prepare.
Yeah. So now getting into kind of the big picture, the future. So where are you kind of seeing the future for APTIM and ESG, maybe past 2022 or into 2022? Anything that you're excited about?
This is it's an ever living effort, right? I mean, it's something we're always practicing. It's not something that you feel like, from my perspective, that you've reached an endpoint. So every year we're hitting milestones and we're creating new ones beyond that. So my perspective, I think, is building on the roadmap. Creating the roadmap that we've created, making sure that we are striving to reach those milestones, but okay, what lies ahead beyond that? So it's continuing to make sure that we've got line of sight in how we're going to reach where we said we're going to go, and then making sure we've got the talent that's in-house to get us there, attracting and retaining those individuals. I think that's one component, is just continue to build on that roadmap that we've started.
So something that I'm excited about this year is that internally we did our first office manager survey, which helped us learn more about how we're actually implementing sustainability at all of our different sites. Have over 50 sites across the country, so it's a lot of balancing as well as our client sites, and just getting our heads around what we're doing as well, just like we do for our clients. And I think that also offers exciting opportunities for office managers and all of our day-to-day staff to get involved in sustainability. And one of the things that I was interested in is in the responses, people were really excited about it. And they're like, we want to know more about our metrics. We want to know how we can help and what we can do at the office. So that's something in 2022 that our council is going to be working on, are kind of getting together more of the metrics, but also sustainable work processes to go along with our policy. Is there kind of anything else that you guys can think of that people can do at home or at work to help kind of increase their sustainability?
I think first and foremost, we all have to take accountability for the level of, for the impact that we have on, the environment, and others as well. There's a plethora of carbon calculators across the internet, lots of tools that you can use to, find out to what extent do the things that you do have an impact on the environment. And so I think each individual, we can look at ourselves and say, if we go to the grocery store and we see an apple encased in plastic, is that really something that we should be doing? Or should we, go a little bit more naturally, try to reduce the amount of plastic that we're using, reuse things when we have the opportunity to do so? There's so many more examples I can say, but I would love to.
I think it's starting simple, right? So one simple change can make a huge difference. It's not getting that Starbucks coffee cup. It's bringing a reusable cup, right? And that's one less cup going into the trash, into the landfill. So small changes, not using the plastic bag at the grocery store and bringing a reusable bag, just examples from a waste perspective. Doing a home assessment to figure out, there's many, I know my city has, or my utility has free assessments of your home to look at your energy and see where there's energy savings. So I think there's just little things we can do to encourage and promote at home, even with our families. I know my kids always ask, which one's recycling, which one's trash, which one's organics, because we separate organics in California. So even just starting with that generation of showing them how to be good for the environment, good stewards, and just those little changes can really, can start the domino effect that can help, better the world.
It's an absolute contagious effort. It is. I mean, anything from reusable bottles. I know as a company, we're moving away from plastic bottles in our offices and more toward reusable. So that's, that is something you take home with you and you practice, and you bring it to work with you, practice. And it's when others around you see how you are, hey, I'm taking this, I'm putting it in a recyclable bin versus a trash. And they see a recyclable bin, it's actually full of recyclables. that's great, and that shows that you were actually walking the walk and talking the talk, and it's a practice that just continues to build. And I think it's important to if you've got ideas, you got best practices, you got other things you've seen in the industry that others are doing that we should speak up, and let's hear about it, and tell folks your story.
And also speaking from kind of best practices and identifying different resources that are available, we would be remiss without not talking about the rebate that also came out. Specifically, we could do some research about where you live locally to find out what rebates are available. Here in Colorado, on Earth Day, they just made available a rebate that APTIM was a part of, where individuals can go get savings and buy an electric bike. And also you can install some energy efficiency things in your home. And Denver has a program to help people to afford that. And so I think that's, I'm sure there's lots of other examples in other locations.
And I think that's a really good idea too for how our staff can get involved in what they can do at home, is they might not be aware even of which programs are available near them. So that'd be a really cool initiative this year as well, just to get the word out of, we run some energy efficiency programs, but are our staff at home all aware of what's available from their home utilities? Like you mentioned you are, but sometimes that can be kind of niche and people don't always find it. So I think spreading the word, that's a really awesome program in Denver. So is there anything else? Is there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up? Any last thoughts?
Earlier, we talked a little bit about recruiting, and we can't, not say something about that. There's so many different studies that say that as we look to bring in new talent, and we understand that where we are today, there's a challenge with retaining talent and attracting talent. This is one of the things that these new people coming into the workforce really care about. And going back to the transparency conversation, you want to make sure that the people that you're trying to bring into your company, the people that you're trying to bring into your workforce, are very aware of the things that you are doing to protect the community, the environment, and society in general.
Agreed. Well said.
Great. Definitely. Well, I want to thank the panel today for getting together to discuss our environmental, social, and governance efforts internally, as well as on our client services side, and taking some time to tell a few stories, which I think are really cool, and talk a little bit about what APTIM does and what we're hoping to do in the future. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.